So we'll call the meeting to order for July 10th. Roll call, Deborah.
Certainly. Walker.
Here.
Selden. Here. Bentley.
Here.
And Byram.
You have the minutes from the June 12th meeting. Any comments, changes, edits? No. Then they are approved as submitted. Thank you, Deborah. Members forum.
Certainly. So we do have a Zoom forum speaker. Members are welcome to speak during the designated member forum at Rossmore Walnut Creek Board and Committee meetings, either in person or over Zoom. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes and must clearly state their full name and Rossmore address before beginning. If speaking on behalf of another member, a signed consent form is required. To speak, members must submit the forum slip prior to the start of the forum, which are at the entrances of this meeting. Please advise that meetings are broadcast and recorded. By attending and participating, including during the open forum, attendees agree to and release RWC from all liability for their voice and or likeness being recorded and broadcast for any lawful purpose without compensation. Deep breath. All right. Sally, I saw your hand up, so I'm going to unmute you. State your full name and Rossmore address. You have 2 minutes. There you go.
Hi, Sally.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
You can.
Yes.
Nobody ever said they couldn't hear me. My name is Sally Allen. I'm at 1340 Rockledge Lane, number 2.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Do I get, do you want my question? Is that it?
Yes, it
Okay.
sounds.
All
Are
right.
you trying to speak during the member forum?
Well, I have to leave in about 15 minutes.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. I'm 88 years old, and I recently received a handicap parking placard. Before that, I never noticed how many places were available at the fitness center. There were only 5 in that large parking lot. So far, I've never found an empty one available, and I usually come to the center 3 times a week. My sons tell me that motion is lotion. On Monday and Wednesday, the parking lot is almost full, and I have to walk further than is comfortable for me. Deborah, Ted's assistant, told me that back when the fitness center was renovated many, many years ago, the number of handicap parking spaces met the minimum ADA requirement based on the occupancy of the facility. I would guess that the occupancy has increased since then. I am requesting at least 2 more handicap spaces be designated for those of us who are identified as disabled. By removing the tent and sandbags in the far corner of the parking lot, you would be able to increase regular spaces for parking by at least 2. I'm done.
Okay. Thank you very
That's
much.
it, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you, Sally.
That concludes the member forum.
Okay, thank you. Chair's report, just briefly, there's a change in schedule for August. Thank you for everybody's cooperation. Will be Tuesday, August 12th. We have a lot of important things at that meeting, including pickleball, Rossmore.com, and perhaps an update on food and
capital
beverage
stuff.
Yes.
Is it 10:30?
Same time, same place. Yes. Yep. All right. Next, capital project update. Dan Matola.
Alrighty. What am I sharing? I have so many things up in here. Nope, wrong thing. Not that. Hold on for 1 second. I can't seem to find my, I want to do that.
Is it under hierarchy?
Mm.
Just kidding.
There you go. It took a little while to find it. Thought I had it open. I did not. Okay. So what we'll do is we're going to go through the activities that are happening with capital projects. And so starting at the top of the page, those first ongoing projects, there's no movement on it. Pavement will be we want to bring a bunch of things next month so you can kind of see where we are financially and what we're looking for. Once we have all the true numbers for pickleball. So expect some information on pavement next month. For pickleball courts, I think everyone knows our bid closed about 2 weeks ago. And so we're in the process of confirming the bid and working with the contractor that we'd like to work with on that. And the reason you do that is because you want to go through and make sure that the way the documents were, that they covered everything. So you don't want to leave anything just to assumption, whatever. So there was really good review by our design team. And so we're working through that process.
Any surprises?
No. No. No, it's just, it's a real, and again, I think I mentioned that there were such close bids from 2 companies that have worked quite well here in the Valley before. So like we were pleased with the competitiveness of them. And the company has been like super responsive in clarification, and because you want to make sure if they say this, it's using the same material. And so those are some of the clarifications that we're making.
And the water line that needs replacement or moving.
So that's also, so we're getting the bids on that as well, because we need all of
Yes.
this information for the August meeting. We need the total true cost of the project.
Right. And has any thought been given to the issue of what we're doing with the old ones, the old pickleball courts?
No, it's too much for my little pea brain to manage at this time. But no, we're having no discussion of that. There will still be a play on them until they're unplayable, which is where it stands right now.
Okay, because
But there's no thought to, there
It'd
hasn't
be
been a
useful.
discussion on what happens with that.
it'd be useful to have that discussion, I think, before we get to the pickleball.
Well, quite honestly, I think that's part of the FMP and capital projects for next year.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have an impact on the completing the pickleball project.
No, but understanding if it's going to cost us a bunch of money to replace them or to, turn it back to grass or what, I don't know what we're going to do with it. That's my point.
In the
And-
beginning.
Is there any cost associated?
Before they were pickleball courts, they were being considered to expand the parking lot of Creekside. And then pickleball came on and that was always considered as temporary spot till they found a home for it. So I think that all of that stuff will be tossed up when it is available to be able to have something done with it.
And I think it's right to defer to the FMP, and we can talk about why
Yeah.
that's a very technically complicated site. So,
Yep,
Mhm.
requiring a lot.
it's-
Because of the creek mostly.
Right,
yeah, yes,
erosion.
yes. Okay, so pickleball, MOD replacement. So Jeff's not here. I don't know what the progress is on the financial analysis. I believe he's gonna have some of that wrapped up also for August, so we're looking at more of a complete picture. Food and beverage. So the RFP was released last week. And so I just did a really brief check-in with Clyde, who's the team member from Synergy, who's the lead on that, and we'll be reaching out to the different businesses, really just so we can do check-in meetings for the internal team. So by Monday, he said he'll have like a preliminary update on what the response has been and where we're going with that.
So my understanding was that these RFP was supposed to include some additional services outside of the restaurant or something, after that study and surveys and all that, people were saying, we want to be able to get a sandwich near the Redwood Room or something like that. But I understand there's nothing like that in the RFP.
Because we need to get the operator in and grow the vision with them. That being said, the services offered from the restaurant site will be different and more expanded than what is currently
The
there.
hours, I noticed.
The
days.
hours, grab and go, like service through the bar, more
Coffee.
breakfast, coffee. So
Okay.
so what we're doing is we're making a bit more of a rounded
Full.
program.
Full service for the community.
So basically, they called, when we did the study summary, they broke what the desired services were into day part drivers, which are basically breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, right?
Right.
Snack, cocktails. And so the idea is like, if you go to the current restaurant site, right now their dinner, every once in a while they do breakfast and they'll do it for a piece and whatnot. So the idea is we want the new operator to come in, and part of it is we need for you to address some of those other day part drivers. So it will expand there, but we can't get into expanding without knowing who the operator is, because you speak to this really eloquently, having been in that industry. It's every chef, every operator has their own ergonomics, if you will, of how they want kitchen set up and how they're gonna design stuff. So we really need to have the partner, and that's why it's an operating partner, to help us now then realize the fuller vision of what the plan was about.
And the RFP hints at potential in the future, but not a required
Right.
response. But it is still in the pipeline, in the wish list, if you will.
And I think that that's more of something that came out of the survey that the members of Rossmore want to have. But it has to be put on a future because there's an expense to all of that stuff. And our partnership with that could be, you know, if you think about a coffee shop, lunch place at Sportsman's Park, that's a build of a whole new kitchen and everything. That's a huge expense on our part. So that's something I think that we have talked about, we want to do, but it has to be put down the line because of the expense. We don't even know what the expense would be at Peacock Center for something there. And it could, you know, depending on what is developed there, could price it out that it's gonna push it down because of other things that are more important in front of it that we have to take care of.
But the idea is there will be more services in
That's the goal.
That is the
coming
goal.
RFP.
It's not gone, but it's,
This is the interim step.
And presumably, in our choice of operator, we would, if potential operator A says, well, I'm just seeing it as a restaurant. And B says, well, I'm really seeing these other things, then we might go with B
Yes.
as opposed to A.
That's why the way it's written, the way the business model is presented, because there are some financial models attached to that and what will be successful.
Yeah.
It drives them to serve this community's desires and needs. I mean, you wouldn't have somebody to come in and just say, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do something which I don't know is gonna be viable or not. So it was great having synergy because they crafted that. So it's like, so this model will work. We talked to everybody, they attached the vision plan. These are all the things that you know the people are gonna show up for. And because we are a unique community, like that information is very important for like a business person to come in and say, so how am I gonna come in and make a successful business here? So that's why I'm very sensitive to the community. They hear these plans, they want it to happen now. But they have to be incremental. You really have to make sure that you grow these and get the right partners to grow them so they're set up for success. And I think that's exactly what's happening with this. So like, we're pretty excited to see, you know, what, you know, the operators that respond to this and the proposals that are presented. So
When do they do?
August 15th.
All right. Any other questions moving forward?
I mean, we had like small movement on some of the other things, but hold on for 1 second. The liner, so I think I mentioned the liner and the golf bridge. We've just interviewed somebody to replace Fred Ponce that can kind of come in as our expert, more technical project manager and client representative. And so they'll be taking over those projects hopefully shortly. So we'll have more information on that. And then since we last met,
Can I ask a question about the person?
I was gonna say yeah.
The person, is it someone who was already here at Rossmore, a new body?
No, what we need is somebody that understands code. They need to understand if you touch a building this way, these codes have to be represented. So it's not somebody that knows Rossmore, but they know all the type of projects. They have actually a very similar background that Fred Ponce did with all the different disciplines.
And Janet, just so you know, Fred was not an employee.
He wasn't like,
He was
Oh, okay.
He was
a
just
project contractor, so his cost is built into the projects.
he's paid out of the capital budget.
just on the pool replastering, I know that that's coming up. We have it listed for September, October, possibly. You know, I know it depends a little bit. There's a leeway there. Is that still lined up with our person to jump on that?
Yeah, and so we don't have like the hard date yet, but Martine is working to kind of nail that down. We want to know by August what the schedule is for the last
My
quarter.
only thing is that we make sure that that's communicated really well because that's the
Absolutely.
shutdown of Tice pool, that's 3 pools that'll be closed down for the time that is being done. And again, if we had an idea of how long it was gonna be, it's a 30 days at least for
It should
that process
be
to
30
happen, but,
days. Yeah,
okay.
should be 30.
Okay, anything else on capital
That's it.
projects? I think there's some big stuff coming up in
Yes.
August
Except we won't have the RFP yet for August 12th.
for food and beverage. We will.
Right.
Right.
That's
It'll be
not
September.
closing till the 15th.
Correct. But that won't impact capital for this year,
Capital for next year.
for next year.
Okay, some verbal updates, and by the way, Ann and I just wanted to keep a list of things that are in the works.
They were your goals, right?
Yeah,
Is that where they came
goals
from?
and things we don't want to lose sight of. So the first was enterprise risk management. I don't know if you want to say anything, but it's one of those things that is done annually as a part of the budgeting process to anticipate what operating needs there may be or what capital needs there may be based on assessed risks. And so it was done last fall?
The review.
November and February.
Yeah, so we'll review that before October. Well, probably, well, we
August.
should have it on the
Like with the
agenda next
budget,
month.
with the
yeah,
general
yeah,
fund,
agenda
right.
next month to review that in detail.
Yeah.
And add to it, amend it, edit it. Any questions on that? Okay. Food and beverage, I think we've covered that RFP process. Transit, anything new on the transit
I
side?
don't really have anything new to update. I mean, there are different things in work. Right now, we've been looking at different dispatch systems. I mean, that's kind of a big body of work and a big need that we're trying to figure out. So more on that probably like later, I would say
I
probably.
heard there was
October.
an issue. Are we still thinking of Lyft? Or have we stopped
you know-
thinking, or is that still a question?
I think we're still exploring it. and, Yeah,
It's not a for sure.
we don't
yet.
have it quite, we don't have anything quite confirmed yet. at this
Yeah,
time.
okay.
So no launch date of
Correct.
that service yet.
Just one quick question. As we're looking at the vehicles that we use, whatever that's gonna be, because we had talked about
Mhm.
different vehicles, that's not going to matter with the new platform you're looking at, right? I mean, it's still
Oh,
gonna,
it shouldn't have anything to do
Okay.
with dispatch, yeah.
just wanna make sure that all,
Yeah.
we don't have to look at another system after we get the new vehicles.
Okay, resident services system.
So we've actually selected a vendor that we're moving into the contract phase with, so we can get a whole project timeline. And so the plan for that is we need to kind of work, so the great thing is we found one system that not only can serve all of resident services, so it's reservations, excursion ticketing, event ticketing, class registration, everything that happens at the fitness center with classes, personal training. It also encompasses golf, which is really great. So we have a really great system identified, and so we're gonna start working on the contract. And then with that, we'll have a timeline, but we think that we can start, and it's gonna have to be like a sequential phase-in. And what's really important when you do these registration type of transfers, we're always operating in parallel systems. So more on what that will look like from the user end, but this is something which will probably take us about, we think, 6 months to implement if we do this properly and if there's no glitches. The things that will be the most time consuming will be facility reservations and golf, just because they have a few more different, like moving parts. So more on that as we get into it and start working with the company.
So is that an operating expense then? Is it, it's a?
There's part of it's,
Service type of?
part is capital and part is operating, and the operating expense is just, so it's like a little bit more than all of those different systems that we have now. And part of that is because we want to have the mobile capability,
Yeah.
like mobile app capability. And that added just a couple of thousand,
And then that will be coming back to planning, finance
all of those things, yeah.
in August or
August is a
soon?
big month.
Yeah. We may need 2 meetings. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, so it's gonna be, so there's a lot, but it's there's a way to present it elegantly when you see everything. I mean, you have to go through everything, but you want to look at how this all stacks up and what that bottom line is. And so we just have lots of things, like there's a synergy of a lot of these projects coming together at the point when the different elected bodies need to make decisions on them and decide, do we want to move forward with this or not?
It would be useful, I feel, if we had a better view of, because there's NetSuite, there's Workday, and I'm not quite sure what Don keeps talking about Workday and what it does. And now there's this. And they fit together, but there's no I've never seen a picture of how they fit together and the various services and how we're providing. I mean, the whole objective of this, as I understand it, is to provide one integrated system that provides all the services we need, which is a great idea, and it's the way it should be done, but I've never actually seen that picture, and I just wanted to.
I think Ann Peterson will have something good in August for us to look at.
Because, yeah, which kind of goes into the last thing, because rossmore.com is the gateway for how this now it all can work. You know, so like the big upgrades will be the mobile capabilities and the ability to have access to it through this portal.
And that's actually my Rossmore.com.
And that's my Rossmore.
Not Rossmore.com. Yeah, Rossmore.com.
It's my Rossmore.com.
Rossmore.com is
the
the
website.
marketing website.
Yeah.
And as I understand it, the RFPs are in, or proposals are in, and Ann Peterson will have that for us in August. So that ties into the myrossmore.com and resident services. So you're right, a big picture of what that might look
How it all fits together.
But like,
and we're
yeah.
not missing something, or that
Right.
we understand that maybe there is this part that's missing, but we'll get to it. Just so that we're comfortable about that everything's there.
Yes.
That's all I'm asking about.
You're absolutely right. Ted?
So has anybody been on rossmore.com lately?
Yes.
Yeah, the website, the cover page is looking like a marketing page now. It is looking really good with single touch to get any information you want to get, and much different than it was before. And so I can see they're already trying to do within our old system some work to get us a better look, but it is really nicely laid out right now.
Good. It will get even better. Okay, anything else? All right. So let's move on to new business and FMP. So Ann and Jeff threw this at you, I believe.
Well, I mean, because part of it was, so here we are in July. We got to get through the hump of the operating budget. And then right on the heels of that comes the capital budget. And we really start bringing, what we'd like to start to do really October is when it really starts coming in, looking at the projects, prioritizing, costing and whatnot. And so because of their interest, like there are different projects have come up, what about this, what about that? It seemed to make sense to start at the beginning to figure out where we're going. And so Dwight asked if we could, start like review the facility master plan again. So I don't want to pull up the whole document, but it is attached to the report. And so for the new board members, I don't know how involved in the process you were, or even the existing ones, board members, but it really does have, and actually what I'm going to do is, let me see if I can do this. Because I think in the staff report, if I share, can I move around or do I need to be on a fixed site?
Move around.
Okay. Let me try this here.
You might have to reshare if it's,
Yeah, I'll see what it does.
sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Oh, good, it's working. All right.
The attachment to the agenda, right, under new business?
Yeah. Oopsie.
Hey, there you go.
Thank you. And so if you were to read this report, what it does is it kind of summarizes what the projects were in the facility master plan. And these were how they were listed. They had immediate, near-term maintenance pipeline. And then there was this wish list. And then if you look at the new considerations, there are things which we're actively working on. And so this is important document, if you will, or a summary page, because they're probably where you start to talk about capital, right? So these are things in the facility master plan, which were identified. Some of them we haven't really tackled. If you go through this, some of them are actually completed. Some of them are deferred for reasons like the water reclamation study. But you'll see things on here which are still kind of like either pipeline or immediate, but haven't really done anything substantial for it. So they're kind of guiding documents, I would think. However, that's not the whole story, because as we know in this community, it's very dynamic, right? You have people that have been here, and so they're getting engaged. They've been here, and they've been around, they've been using the facilities, and they have different ideas. And so, do you want to talk about that other thing?
Not yet.
And so basically, it's a document that you need to look at probably regularly to say, should we be should we be tackling these priorities? Are there other things that we're just gonna put in a pipeline as a placeholder? It's not the full study, but at least the list is something to be looking at, because it's only from 2022, so it's not that far ago, not that long ago, that these were really high priorities in the community.
Could you go to the attachment and
Yes, I
page
can.
9A45?
9A45.
Because that's my favorite page.
Has to do with money.
Yeah, but I will
I
tell you,
thought
it's
so.
it's way out of date. I'm just gonna tell you that.
No, it is, but that's the
9A45?
document that we need to update. We don't need to update everything on this
But all the
presentation.
things they presented for each building, I mean, it's not gonna change all that.
Well,
I mean, I would say-
It does change. It does change with wear
And
and
while
tear.
I'll say, we don't need to update the document. I think it is important to recognize that to get to that point, there was a ton of community engagement. I mean, that
Yes.
whole process was really rigorous. And so, I mean, I think that's,
So what's
Really
important
important.
about this document is it identified and monetized the projects that were listed in that staff report of what's in progress, what's in the pipeline, what's on the wish list. And then it looks at, oh, do we have the money to do this stuff? And what would it require in MTF or other revenue sources in order to accomplish these projects? So this spreadsheet resides somewhere. It's alive, and we need to make it
Yes.
current.
yeah, so
And that
and that's something we can do as part of capital. That's a lot of costing to
Yes.
make sure we can do this.
The goal is to update this for current happenings by October. When
So the real costs get put in there, the ones we know.
The ones we know, and then the ones we're guessing as a guesstimate. Yes.
Make allowances for inflation and so on. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So use this, when we look at what's in the pipeline, what's in the funnel, what's in the wish list, this is the place to start as we update it. And Janet, just so you know, Dollar House
Dollar's right there.
is
At the
in
top.
there, but it's not a recognized project yet because there's no funding for it.
Right.
But that's a
And
big question.
And that project was very specific.
Yeah.
It's a really focused, the accessibility really was about the accessibility into the courtyard. It wasn't, so it's, and I don't think that amount of money is gonna get you.
And had an elevator, I think, as well.
Not for $150,000.
Yeah, not-
Yeah.
Well, it was an $8 million thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
that included seismic retrofit, elevator,
Yeah.
and the whole spiel.
Yeah,
so-
that's in the pipeline. So that's a pipeline one.
Yeah. So those are the things that we need to evaluate and be
Mhm.
considering over the next couple months, so that by October, we have a good feel for not only what this body is thinking of, what the board is thinking of, what residents are thinking of, what staff is thinking of, so that we can have a knowledge base to do a capital budget.
And not only is this important to look at this and figure out what has to be done right now for safety reasons or whatever has to, because something's gonna jump up ahead of everything else, even though, we've got a surprise. So we're gonna have some things. But that bottom line that we have on here, on this old one, is 62,000, but I've seen as high as 62 million. But I've seen as high as 75, $79 million worth of work that was put on the list of things that have to be done here. And that's a pretty daunting number to look at when you're trying to get caught up on everything else that's going on. So this is gonna be something we're just gonna be whittling on forever, you know, because there's gonna be things that'll either pop up or added on to it as time goes on.
And a lot that we're gonna learn in the next month.
Yeah.
Because of pickleball and looking at enterprise risk management and all of those things together is a big picture for us to deal with. But speaking of priorities, do you want to pull up what I call is the pyramid
Your
of
pyramid,
priorities?
Dwight's pyramid of,
Yeah.
And so it's just the philosophy that I've seen used in reserve studies and mutuals and also in other
I think I have to stop before I share
organizations.
again.
You had it.
Did it actually show?
Yeah, it was there and then it went
There
away.
it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. Well, now it's there.
So when you look at what the priorities that we have considered in the past, and this is open for discussion and everybody should have their input here. But number one is safety, public safety. We've got to be careful that we take care of folks. Number two is long-term structural protection, you know, roofs and things like that, seismic. Long-term landscape protection, whether it's erosion or any of those projects. And then next down is affordable, high-impact benefit to members.
Like marketing.
And then the aesthetic nice-to-haves. If we have all the money in the world, we'll get down at the bottom of the pyramid. We never get there. Well, it's tough to get there. So how does everybody feel about those? Does that make sense that that's the hierarchy that
I think safety on the top, I like this. I like the way it's set up.
we've never made it official? And I'm not sure where it would reside anyway, Deborah, but it's a guiding light for this committee at least, and if not for the board.
I want to say in the Capital budget, you're
budget
giving things
guidelines.
priorities 1, 2. You know how you
Yes.
prioritize them? We can add numbers to these.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Because we talk about them if it's like necessary by safety or compliance or
Right,
like
right.
some of the essential infrastructure, which would be structural, some of it's structural protection.
So we go to 5
So
numbers.
we can talk about that if we get the numbers right. I can bring that back. We can make sure we
So
have the
we-
right.
Seems to me we're doing more at the bottom than we are at the top.
Okay, tell me why.
Well, the pickleball courts, as an example, they do not fit into 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, maybe 5. In my opinion, I mean, I think this is good, but structural protection, not just roofs and roads, but existing structures, wouldn't that fall into,
Sure,
like, keep them from falling down,
yes, yes,
keep them from eroding?
yes, absolutely.
So, I mean, I do like your pyramid, and I think some of these projects should consider these options.
Mhm. Okay.
The only question I have about it is the safety, the long-term structural, long-term landscape, those are sort of given. Where we really have the problem in making decisions is really about the affordable high impact.
Sure.
Subjective. And what is affordable, what is high impact, what is the benefit? And arguing and discussing about that is really where the crux of the matter comes. There's really not a lot of debate about repaving the roads and things of that nature. So, you know.
Dwight will debate it.
Well, yeah, well, roads are, well, sometimes falling down.
Don't drive on Golden Ray right now, you know, tires.
But all I'm trying to say is that there's not a lot of debate about the
Yeah.
priority of that, right? Whereas where the real discussion comes in there. And so in a way, what I'd almost like to see would be a little more ways or criteria that we could use to talk about what does it mean to be affordable? What does it mean to be high impact?
I've seen a matrix on that category, and I'd love for you to work on that. That'd be awesome.
Okay. You send that to me?
I don't have it anymore, but there is, you could develop something that would help there. But you know what, it's just like Janet just said, in her opinion,
Right.
you know, pickleball doesn't sit there. From a competitive market value, community, staying with the times, I think it does. So that's the discussion that this body will have, as well as the board, as well as the residents.
Yeah.
And somehow we come to a consensus of where we move forward. But you're right, that is the area that gets the
And
most.
I will say the only thing that's really black and white is a subset of safety, not all of safety.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
And it's when something's required for compliance.
That is
So for
absolutely-
instance, we could, and maybe that's subjective too. For instance, if we don't replaster our pools, we will be shut down by the health
Yeah.
department.
Yeah.
Because there's a certain
Exactly.
failure in some, but the board could say, well, maybe we save on pools for a year. You never know. I don't think that would happen. Please don't take that
No.
soundbite, anybody. Please don't take that soundbite, anybody.
No.
Do you know what I mean? But honestly,
Yes.
like usually it's those compliance things.
Mhm.
You know, with some of the, you know, the turf conversion. Like a lot of
Yes.
that had to be done within a certain, you know, time period. And there was a financial benefit too, right?
Ted and Janet.
So I think on the one on affordable, high impact benefit to homeowners, I think that there's a lot of words there and people will zero in on certain words. Affordable doesn't mean, I do not see it as meaning, I look at it as getting the best deal for the projects that we have to get done. But some people might look at that and say, we want affordable housing. So
Yeah.
are we a premier area? We're competing with many more places right now. Some friends of mine who just moved, were looking for a place, looked here, and then moved to Roseville. And we're at Roseville, and I mean, it's a little hot for me up there, but they moved there because it has 12 pickleball facilities that are new. And that's why they moved there, and we didn't have anything to offer them here. And they, you know, retirement is, who knows how long that is. So you have to have certain things done. So I'm just saying, part of that, when you look at what is the benefit to the people, our marketing task force identified how we have to be competitive with everybody else in those. And I'm gonna say this about task force, we've had a number of different task forces come along. We cannot forget that information out of those task force and all the work that they did, because it's for the betterment of Rossmore. And so we have to add those in. So I think that when you're looking at those words up there, maybe there should be a division, you know, and that box should be 2 boxes or something. Because-
That's where a nice
Yeah.
matrix
Yeah.
can do that for you.
But I think that as you read that, because there's a lot of information there, you know, there's 3 different areas inside that.
Mhm.
And so we have to really think, what are we thinking about when you see that word affordable? What are we thinking about when we see homeowners? And what are, you know, the benefit to homeowners? And what is a high impact kind of a thing? We have to think about all of that separately.
Maybe you can work with Adrian on that matrix. I think that's a
No, I
great idea.
wouldn't mind, because you know, you really we gotta drive, we have to drive the point home on this as to what it is, instead of somebody locking on a single word who is looking at an affordable house to live.
I
Might not be
understand.
the direction we're going.
I understand. Janet?
So this is where I struggle, like, okay, let's say the pickleball courts are $4 million.
Or what?
4 million, right? So that 4 million, what else could we do with the 4 million that's a higher priority, right? That would actually make a difference. So like the MOD thing, moving them is so complicated, so expensive, involves another properties, involves collateral, involves so many things that, yeah, maybe that 4 million doesn't really help that project. You know what I mean? Like if we were trying to move money around or something.
Janet, that's
But-
why you're being paid the big bucks to make these decisions.
But the 4 million would make a difference to the Stanley Dollar Clubhouse. So that's all I'm saying. It just would.
There are single issue people, and I understand your issue.
No, I'm just saying.
But
if
no, I
I'm-
agree, I agree.
If I'm trying to
Yeah, no,
That's-
decide,
That's exactly
where the
the
money
decision
goes.
process that we have to go through.
Yeah.
And-
Right.
And that,
And
Don't miss August meeting.
Well,
Can
and that's
I put
really
on my
what-
two cents about the framework for capital? So you have this prioritization, right? And really like that, so, and because I'm a little concerned that we're gonna get the facilities master plan and conflate that with a capital project process. One is prioritizing and seeing what the total nut is, okay? A capital, a capital.
10-year look, right.
It's a 10-year look, but that's not a 10-year spending plan, because those projects, simply by the complexity of everything that has to happen before they even start, those like, let's say you have like a 10-year look, that really could be 20 years of work. Your capital projects is your spending plan, right? And we can get really kind of focused on that 1 year, what's coming in for the MTF that 1 year, whatever, instead of the long look and then how it dovetails into the finance committee. If planning committee says, we really need all this stuff, finance committee, how do you fund it? Right? So it's a spending, so you're kind of, it becomes a spending plan by the time it goes to the board.
Yeah.
And I think that's a hard thing for people to get their heads around, because within this trust fund that we spend capital, we also have these reserves that we hold on to. And everybody's like thinking ways to build more reserves instead of spending on capital, investing in capital. And so those are philosophical questions and philosophical discussions, but there are many different layers of this conversation. Once you start, you prioritize your project, you give them a number based on, is it safety, whatever, but now you gotta figure out like, how do you go forward with it? And do you really need everything now?
That's what's
Or is
awesome
it a spending
about.
plan? And it's layered, but you know, we wanna go through the prioritization and then say, very nice, now let's figure out capital, like what is the dynamic
Sure.
spending plan? And it's hard to kind of keep those into the two different places. Because that number thing, we can do an updated estimate on the total nut, but you're only taking like 10 of those projects forward.
Right. But that's what's awesome about the facilities master program
Yeah.
process, is because you're looking at the big picture and the long-term picture and saying, okay, we gotta keep this in mind, and this is what we can do in the next 5 years, you know, and this is what we can afford,
Right.
so.
And also, I think it's important to realize that these capital projects take a long time. And you make a series of decisions over, pickleball, it's been going on, I don't know how long now, 5 years or something like that. And if you kind of wishy-washy about it, you never get anything done.
You need that long-term look.
And so you need something of a commitment to the long term.
Right.
Even though, yes, we make a decision every year on capital. But I think it's important to keep that long-term goal in place.
Which is almost a good segue to that other infographic.
Yes.
And just like and I've done this, I did this at pickleball, and I think I did one thing when I called it like the anatomy of a capital project. Because people will tie you to, oh, they said it was gonna be $900,000. It's like, well, that's when we thought we could just do a court, right? And we found out a lot of different things once we started doing community engagement and design, and then compliance and having to enclose it. It became something quite different than that initial idea. Capital projects, they have a life to them. And so Dwight found this infographic, yay, okay, which
It's owned by Tahoe Donner.
it's owned by Tahoe Donner, so I don't think I can attach it to this, but you can go to Tahoe Donner and find it.
What's Tahoe Donner?
It's a special
Resort
district up
in the mountains.
It's Truckee. They have 6,000 homes and
yeah.
lots of amenities, ski resort and all.
So what they did is, so the infographic looks like this, and this is their path. And every place is gonna be a little bit different, but there's lots of sameness to the flow of this.
And by the way, I just want to say, so Janet, you triggered this with me because we need to have a place, a funnel to accept resident ideas, staff ideas, board member ideas of projects that to be considered, okay? And what this outlines, and I'm not saying this is perfect, is that it allows for that funnel to capture those ideas, be considered, and by the way, there may be a yay or nay at that consideration level. If it's a yay, it moves on to developing the idea, maybe getting cost estimates. It doesn't mean it's gonna happen.
Right.
And so it's just a way of looking at projects or looking at ideas, how they flow in, so residents understand it, so quite honestly, so board members understand how we get to spending these capital projects. And it provides for approvals at every step of the way.
Yeah.
You know,
And I would say our conceptual design process is a whole squiggle of itself.
Yes,
Right, because we like to do just a baseline feasibility, right, and bring that back. Because what, you know, because a lot of times people will have these ideas and say, oh, it's only gonna cost you $100, and it's really $1 million. And so, but we wanna like bring some baseline stuff, say, before we invest that time, it's gonna be closer to this. And then the community engagement here, it can't be underestimated, and it really shouldn't be done anyway in this community. You are stakeholders in everything. This is your community. And so there's like I mean, it's abundant compared to other places, other communities I've worked in, but it's absolutely essential, the way we engage through the process and report back and get more feedback. And so, anyway, the idea was to try to figure out how to create our own,
yes,
that
so,
you could then have feedback on, yeah?
yeah. So Janet, would you be willing to work with me on updating a capital projects process for the community?
We look at this and create our own.
Yeah, use this as an example and come up with what we think fits, because as I recall at the board meeting, we said we were developing capital budget guidelines. Somebody, am I conflating? Am I having a Rossmore moment?
That would have been an action. Seeing that as an action.
I don't remember seeing that as an action. It may have been discussed.
Or it was in your head, but you didn't say it.
Perhaps. But these things tie into, I mean, we should have a
Are you talking about you're not talking about the principles?
well, we
Yeah, principle, I
we
think.
said we have an operating budget principles.
Right.
And we need a capital budget. I thought we said we need a capital budget principles. I think Jeff said we would
Yeah,
do
that would be a
that.
good
I
thing.
think you did.
Yes.
Yes. In regards to the principles, yes.
Yeah, so the pyramid, the infographic may tie into that, because it's nice to have an easy way to explain to everyone how this process works, because it's not mysterious, but it kind of just happens. So anyway, would you be willing to work with me on this?
Yeah.
Okay, right. And we'll count on you as well.
Yeah, I was trying to pull something up that the last thing I presented to, like, cause I like to go visit my friends at pickleball and tell them this is, because they're like, where are we? Was it before I went out to bid? And I showed them the roadmap, like just the roadmap of the project. Cause it wasn't where are we, it's like, when are we gonna build this thing? And so I had to show them where we were. Because really, like, when you look at it as a roadmap for here, it was kind of instructive to show them.
Very good.
At this point, these are all the variables. And I think that's an important thing for this community to understand. This takes so long because this could happen and this could happen. And a lot of it has to do with anything that has to go through a compliance process. We're finding that Walnut Creek is very letter of the law. And so for instance, in our lot line adjustment, they had an interpretation of it, which is interpreted differently in many communities, which is why we had to go through this whole process. And they didn't track it until we were well into the process. So it became like we added onto the timeline versus it being incorporated into it at the beginning. So there are all these crazy variables that happen. And I think, I like sharing information, because I think it helps people understand that we really are moving through it. And it's like you're moving through, quicksand a lot of days. But it's cool. And if people are like engaged in the process, so some people really find it interesting, and we have a lot of people that came from these disciplines. And when they hear that, they actually become our allies, explaining, oh, no, this makes sense. This is what's happening.
Well, and what you're mentioning too is that there are a lot of exit ramps off this road.
A lot of them.
And sometimes, it only goes to the first stop and it's out.
Yeah.
Or subsequent.
Go to the fifth stop.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So we'll build some exit ramps into that, Janet.
So as part of the capital budget, do we talk about operating too?
Sure. You mean if there are operating costs
Capital.
associated with capital?
Because
Yeah,
we've been talking,
yes.
we haven't really, since I've started coming to the meetings, we haven't really talked about the capital operating trust.
So I'm not sure I understand what you
Well,
mean.
So there's a budget, for instance, I think at one point we discussed, well, yeah, there's already a budget we could spend without going through this huge capital project process to get new furniture in Stanley Dollar, or new lighting, or new whatever, certain things that would qualify as operating, not capital.
The issue is this, if it's over 5,000, it's gonna be a capital budget. So if you're gonna do like a wholesale replacement of all the furnishings, that's capital. If you're gonna do upholstered chair, reupholster, we could probably do that within and it's like under the 800 budget, which is, they're kind of unallocated expenses, that's. Is that what they call it? So they're more, so they're more general. And the reason why that's an important thing, and we tend not to tie it to too many specific things, because then you don't have it for the emergencies that happen where we really kind of need that for a lot of the facility things that
Like the
happen, which are
plumbing
smaller
breaks or
fixes.
something,
Yeah, because there's a lot of smaller fixes that we
Right.
do out of that. But we can navigate that pretty easily, I think, as we go through the budget process and the capital process.
And Janet, I thought you were referring to new capital things like
Yeah.
pickleball. What are the operating costs
Yeah.
going forward?
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah,
going to
that's
bring
a
that up.
separate question, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that has to be considered as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, because obviously, and every time you do some capital things,
Now
there's
it's
gonna be
there, and
maintenance
you gotta
costs,
maintain
et
it,
cetera,
yeah.
et cetera.
Maintaining.
But there could be offsetting ones. I mean.
yeah. So I will tell you,
that
so.
You're not gonna spend, and so to understand what you're doing, you have to know the extra expenses and the ones you're gonna save.
So what we'll do, so for instance, like chairs, sometimes we'll just need like, a small amount of chairs because we're replacing things that are broken, and we can cover those in the operating budget within custodial. But then in the capital budget, these ongoing expenses of building finishings replacement programs. So this year, that money's in there for carpeting replacement at Creekside. It's like flooring, not necessarily carpeting, but it's flooring replacement at
Right.
Creekside.
Yeah.
So this is a place where they've also had as a placeholder, or sometimes it's in the equipment budget.
Mhm.
So it can lay in different places, but it's still part of the capital process.
Okay, good, that's good to know.
But you start replacing like furnishings and stuff, it adds up pretty quickly. But then the auditors changed their rules, and now it's like the individual cost, it's crazy.
So
But we
Ann,
have to
what,
we have to make sure we're putting it in the right budget now. So all of that kind of changed a little bit this year.
let me ask a question. How do we handle requests right now? So we don't actively solicit ideas for capital projects with residents. We do with staff. Should we? Could we? And
I mean, a lot of times they've been coming from, since I've been here, they've been coming from here based on what's percolating in the community.
right,
But we do, I mean, we'll get different things that kind of come in. And what we'll say to people is, because a lot of times, like, really, there are really a lot of great ideas. But the idea is there really kind of a desire from the community for that?
mhm.
And some people will just say, oh, no, it's just my idea. Or some people just say, oh, yeah, like, there are different people. So I think if we created some type of a pipeline, we'd have to figure out what actually gets entertained here.
Mhm. Well, and that's a part of the infographic we're gonna
Right.
work on, because if there's a
That's something for you
funnel
guys to figure out.
to capture ideas, then you have to consider them and whether they move forward or not,
Right.
and be public about it.
Well, we could put something in the newspaper for our August meeting. This is the time to bring up ideas about,
September.
September,
or
actually.
whatever
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah.
I
So
mean,
it's a thought.
we
yeah.
could, and just see what we get.
But along those lines also, is there, I don't know if we have done anything where we survey the property and say, okay, we've got an earthquake or a landslide hazard here that we should remedy. we've got a flood hazard somewhere here that we should fix. Have we done that? Do we do that?
We actually we do a tour once a year as the board that goes around all the facilities and look at it, but I think that what you're asking comes from
That's Jeroen.
Yeah, it comes from-
Well,
Well, in
I'm
Martin,
thinking
yeah.
of, you know, like you hire an engineer.
It's actually, it's a combination, if it's GRF property, if it's RWC property,
Yeah.
trust property, it's Martin. And your room
Yes.
takes care of the mutual stuff. And so he's very, the thing is, have we invested in having it, like, basically, you're talking about very costly geotech through the community, which is what you could do if you wanted to do those types of surveys.
So,
But
depends what
Martin
level.
has a good sense of the areas that have been sensitive that he keeps tabs on.
Is he the one who's leaving?
No,
Oh,
no, he's staff.
Oh,
And Martine's title again,
He's the trust manager. And if he's listening, he's
RWC property
incredibly
manager.
talented.
There is no such thing as a trust.
So
So
he,
what are we calling it now?
Well, it's
what do you mean
RWC
there's no such
property,
thing as a trust?
not in
RWC
terms
property.
of terminology.
Yeah.
You hear the trust estate fund, what is that? What is that? It's RWC property. It's
Until it
RWC.
changes in the budget, it's gonna confuse my team, so we'll just,
but,
we're just gonna go with that.
but anyway, does Martine do on a regular basis and produce some sort of report that says?
He doesn't do a report, but I can find out what he does do.
Okay, because I worry a little bit about, because I mean, one of your things on your triangle there was, on your pyramid, was landscape, you know, hazards and things of that sort. And how do we know about those kinds of
Yeah, he's not listening.
potential expenses?
He's not listening in today. Okay.
And it's on the enterprise risk management list
Yeah.
as well.
But I mean, sort of having that come forward as you know,
A report.
a report that
yeah.
says, oh, by the way, you've probably got $1 million worth of landscape or, you know, landslide mitigation that you should do here over the next 5 years or something. I don't know.
What the heck is going on?
It's just something I'm concerned about.
Did you see that?
So, and next steps,
The news came up in my.
next steps with the FMP, I'd love to see 9A-45 updated for
Okay.
what we know. So the spreadsheet, 9A-45.
See, I gotta do my old school with paper and pencil.
So the first mystery is, where is it?
No, that's easy. No, we know where it is.
Okay,
We
good.
have it.
And I think it's all formulated, because you can change something like the MTF and see how it affects everything that's going on and get us to be able to do, it's a great report, you know, I think.
Very modeled. So can we maybe see that next month? Or we may not have time next month, but
It may be better to wait until September. We've got a loaded month
mhm,
in August.
yeah. Well, and in fact, a lot of answers to what goes in that spreadsheet will hopefully come in August.
Yes.
All right, so we'll aim for September on that. All right, so this is the beginning of a discussion on the FMP, you know, a lot to follow. And hopefully by October, we'll have a good picture there. And actually, let's talk about timeline, and I guess that's why capital budget principles and timeline would be helpful, because we have moved that decision process to January to finalize capital budget. So that there is a reading in the beginning of December, first reading, if you will, and then a final decision in January. So that the community knows what's up in December, can comment then, but also comment in January, and then the board makes a final decision.
And you're here till May of next year, right?
I'm sorry,
You're chair until May of next year?
maybe, it depends if there's a coup. Are you interested?
She's nodding. Janet's nodding.
No, I just wanted to make sure you were still here in January. That's what I was trying to say.
Maybe.
No, but truly,
Yeah,
May,
Sure, maybe,
not till May.
that's correct,
Are you
done.
potentially done?
Strong armed you.
It's your sixth
She's like,
year.
this
It
recorded,
is,
Dwight,
yes,
but it's publicly announced.
All right,
No,
anything
no
else
public.
on FMP? Anything else for the good of Rossmore? Otherwise, we'll see you on August 12th, 10:30 in this room. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
And who does the?